my take, and I really, as I said, I'm really glad I asked Chuck to do that because I've been on a cohort with Chuck on most of his journey, right up through the present. And most of that journey was about human values, human meaning and dignity, and the future and well-being of not only the human, but all living creatures on the planet. Um, that is such a core driving force in the relationship and discussions, and some of them pretty hot with Chuck over these many years.
Mhm.
But he was, and I was the director of SASE, and it was the evaluator for SASE. That program was about 95 to 2000.
Mhm.
During that time, I went back to get my PhD in adult education and vocational training. I'll say that again, adult education and vocational training. I think that's relevant today. I think it's more relevant than, but anyways, um, I was studying at UW-Madison in adult education, which is a nationally renowned department. I mean, it was a high-powered department. And um, I graduated in 1999. I submitted my dissertation, which took me about 10 years to write. Yeah. And it received a Dissertation of the Year award. And it was very long. Um, that aside, what I want to emphasize is the title that I gave the dissertation, and it was A Path Less Traveled. Okay.
Mhm.
Why was it less traveled? Because that 10-year study, 10 years of working in the community, 5 years of struggling to figure out how can we help kids in SASE recover from addiction and redirect their lives into something productive and hopeful. So my studies are grounded in the human values that you so nicely expressed in that dissertation. We stand at this point at the fork of the road, and I'm taking the road less traveled. So with that, let me go on to give you a few more minutes of the project that I'm working on with Juanita. Laura, I have this because of you. It's your fault. You asked if I'd be willing to do a little spiel, and I risk I'm going to do it now, and hold me accountable. So I'm sharing my screen with you right now, and the screen that you'll see summarizes the whole ball of wax, and then I'll just pontificate on the different parts. I'm looking to share my screen there. All right. And you should see a slide now with images and some text. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, uh, this is the journey that I've been on, taking a path less traveled. It starts with the crisis we're in. And this is just referring to one of the crises, but climate change. I've worked 39 years in the community, and what is coming for climate change, we all know painfully well. Laura, you mentioned that our Future Milwaukee is trying to implement the city equity and climate and equity plan. They have a projection of through 2050. That's their goal, 2050, to be prepared for the ravages of climate, and to do so with equity and justice. With equity and justice. But we have to be by 2050 standing strong, standing together, and having built a infrastructure that's capable of withstanding the ravages that are going to be coming for the next 50 to 150 years. This is it. And this is the path starts now. And so what I say in this little image here is every home climate ready by 2050. That's in the city plan. So I would always ask Juanita, with all her work in passive house and building science and fabulous new cutting edge technologies going into the building industry, I would ask her all the time, why isn't your business community, passive house and building science, doing anything in the central city? Well, what was her comment to me? That's your problem. And, it took several years before, as Chuck would say, it's hard to get somebody to change, even though he pontificates about the change.
Mhm.
So I eventually took her task on as a thought experiment, and this was maybe around 22, not too long ago. But I wanted to raise the question very seriously: why in the hell this great industry of residential and commercial and industrial buildings, why aren't they in the central city? They're all out in the suburbs. I had access to Juanita's network of people within the passive house and building science industry, architects, engineers, builders. I'm surrounded by them on Juanita's side of this operation. And I would ask them, well, this is really great. I'm so excited to have learned all this new building science technologies and the incredibly powerful passive house performances. We got to get this into the central city. Why aren't you in the central city? All of them had one answer to me: ROI, return on investment.
Mm.
And then they'd say, when the government pays for it, we will come.
Mm.
Okay? Didn't matter. I asked this question in national conferences and in little lunches in Milwaukee. Was always and then the look on their face was, you poor bastard, you don't understand. They didn't say it that way, but it was like being dismissed. Well, I said, ROI, return on investment. That's the fundamental business model. And I reflected back on my experiences in the community. And my God, back in the day, all the way back to the 1970s when I was first hired, Milwaukee neighborhood organizations were starting small cooperative ventures to rehab buildings in their respective neighborhoods. They got, yes, government funding to do it through the Department of Community Development in the city, economic development. But a half dozen organizations throughout the city in the mid 70s were literally running their own cooperative home rehab and improvement businesses. They were doing this. I just ran into one who I knew way back then, Pat Small, and I met him at Colectivo, and we had a great talk about reminiscing of what happened and why it and that movement really by the 1980s or so, it really dissolved away. But what I learned was, my God, the community nonprofits were literally creating cooperative ventures where they would literally own and take responsibility for getting houses in their neighborhoods rehabbed and brought up to standard. Fabulous, fabulous. At that time, I was participating with many of those organizations, and I won't tell you what I was doing, but I was helping them. But an important part of that process was education. And so from climate change to education, most of our activism around climate is getting people aware that climate change is real.
Mhm.
Now we're coming to grips with the magnitude of the reality and realize we should have taken the path we didn't.
Mhm.
Why didn't we take that path? Well, that's another, I teased a little bit about that, but we took a path of public policy and financial support to support and fund the projects that would be eventually turned over to the private sector and ask them, okay, now you do the work. We got you the money, you go do it. And they gladly accepted the money, right? And they gladly implemented their strategies and their skills and their abilities. With the implementing proviso is ROI, return on investment. And I pondered that for a long time. I said, oh man, everybody is really trying to solve the problem with great effort, great skill, with great intention, but they can't let go of ROI, return on investment. And if you're trying to serve a low and moderate income community, and if ROI is really a pyramid kind of thing that the profits of a project go to the owner of the operation, who has to pay the profit to the companies that support them, who have to then pay upward to those who support those. You can see that if you're at the bottom of this, what it really begins to look like a pyramid scheme. If you're a low and moderate income homeowner, you're at the bottom of this pyramid scheme, and there's nowhere else to go, and there's no other funding coming other than through government. And as the professionals in the building trade were saying to me, you poor rascal, it's ROI. When the government pays my return on investment, I will be there to make sure I get it. The homeowner, the low and moderate income household, is left with what? They're left with some home improvement, but all the profit, all the value at that level has now been extracted, and the homeowner is left with a improvement in their home, and many of them is really good, decent improvements. But the wealth of all this goes out of the community. That's our business model. That's America at its finest. So I started saying, okay, what is the alternative to ROI? And what would that look like? And I reached back into my career of working in Milwaukee, working with the rich number of nonprofits that permeate every neighborhood in Milwaukee. And I began to say, well, wait a minute, I've been in this thing. What's different or what needs to be different? So we have a different path from the traditional ROI. And the name of that path is tried and true, cooperatives. And Milwaukee has many cooperative ventures going on. It did in the 70s and thriving. But what is a cooperative? So I began to work with two ladies from Citizen Action, Kiva and Valerie. Valerie is the Citizen Action organizer for Northside Rising. That's Valerie. Kiva is a Citizen Action organizer helping people deal with climate change and energy burden. And I approached the two of them, and we worked for the next year or so designing a workshop. And let's see if I can get this there. The Northside Rising Climate Ready Homes Workshop, CRHW. My little tweak on that is if you ask a carpenter to solve a problem, the answer and solution is a nail. If you ask an adult educator to solve a problem, what's the solution? Workshop it. So we began, and Valerie at the time was running monthly workshop meetings with a small group of residents in her neighborhood. That's what community organizing does, right? Back in the 70s, that's what they were doing, door-to-door knocking and finding and identifying homes that need repair. And then they organized a home repair cooperative. And they took on repairing the homes. So I brought that kind of background into the question is, what's a business model going to look like that it doesn't rely on ROI? ROI is part of it, but it doesn't rely on it as much as the standard model would do. And so this is what the three of us came up with after many iterations of this. But Northside Rising Climate Ready Homes Workshop, the city says these homes better be climate ready by 2050. If not, we're toast. Wet, humid, sickly, but we're toast. That's the need and the mission. This is big time. How do we make this happen? Well, the workshop strategy is collaboration. The magnitude of the problem, 60,000 homes climate ready by 2050. It's not my value, it's not my vision, it's the city's vision. And all of our community organizations work very hard to make sure the city passed the climate and equity plan, which our Future Milwaukee is trying now to implement. So this is deeply in the reality of what our community is trying to come up with, to grapple with, not only climate change, but now all the mess of the politics and the like. So if you got a workshop and you got a really important goal that needs to be met, and failure really can't be an option here, what we have to do is recruit and convene stakeholders. Doesn't take many, but critical stakeholders, and each stakeholder has a role and shared purpose to the mission of the workshop. And if they have a role and shared purpose and they work at it collectively, their collaboration evolves into coherence. Coherence. And you hear the word coherence, I'm hearing it more and more. So what's the stakeholders? This is the here and now. the stakeholders, we got to make a home climate ready. Who has anything at stake to make that happen? Homeowners. And in this case, low and moderate income homeowners. There's a lot of them who own a home that they can't afford, but they own it, they're in it, but they're in a neighborhood that has a community organization that goes door to door, asking people, what are your needs and how can we help? That's what community, and that's what Kiva was doing. That's what Valerie was doing. That's what resonated across the three of us. We've got homeowners, and we're a community-based organization trying to meet and address the needs of the homeowner. But there's more stakeholders here. If you're dealing with climate-ready homes, like the organizations were doing back in the early 70s, well, we better be looking at and talking with and organizing community contractors, the DIY enthusiasts on every block. Well, it would be nice if you had an energy auditor. I happen to be married to one. And it'd be nice if you had an adult educator. Hello, that's me. So Juanita and I put ourselves in the center of this equation here. And when I started meeting with Kiva's small group, I offered them, if we're going to talk about climate and we're going to talk about how do we make your house more energy efficient, reduce that energy burden, we'll need to know the status of your home. And I said, my wife is an energy auditor. And for this group, I've got her to donate 5 free energy audits to the group, just to see if we can kick something off. All right, 5 free energy audits. And of course, I'm there as the facilitator, adult educator. So why is this important? When I live in River West, and Juanita and I, if we're walking around the neighborhood, there is a plethora of home improvement projects going on a massive scale. There's roofs being replaced and plumbing being done and siding being put up, painting going on. It is a thriving industry. Does it run on ROI? Not so much. We can find it in this, but it's not so much. What does it run on? Time and materials. Time and materials. This is a low income. The bottom of the pyramid, there is a whole network of service providing for the maintenance and repair of these homes, and it's mostly done on time and material. What does that mean? Well, the DIY neighborhood or the small contractor down the street will come in, look at your house, listen to what's going on, and then the homeowner will say, I really need to get this fixed. My windows rattle. And the discussion between the two of them become time and material. Let's settle on what I can do for you, and I'll charge you for my time. Right? I said, oh, that's right. Time and material trumps, to some degree, ROI. Nobody's going to get rich in this operation. But what's going to happen is the homeowner gets the windows rattling fixed, and the neighborhood DIY guy or handy person gets a little money to sustain his life and his family. That's the grease in the neighborhood. What I began to realize over the years of work that I've done in the community is that's not a trivial little squirt of grease. That is what keeps this community literally rolling. Time and material. So what the workshop, then if you got a workshop, you got to have a workshop setting and a curriculum and a process. So we put together, okay, what would this workshop look and feel like? And there's 16 points here. First of all, if you're a community organizer, you never stop meeting. You never stop meeting. So we have monthly meetings forever. And you can join, you can attend, drop out, and return. This is how community organizations work. And who stay over the time are the gold, the gems of the grassroots neighborhood who have enough energy and desire and interest to sustain working on something of value to themselves and their neighborhood. Chuck, that's what you were doing.
Mhm.
That's what, so much.
Yeah.
What's the curriculum? Work on members' homes. Let's get something done and let's just work on the homes of the members in the workshop. And who owns the home in these workshops? Low and moderate income. Why and how is that possible? Because the community organization is going door to door, recruiting, talking, and encouraging people to come. And they say to the homeowner, here, I'm facilitating these workshops in my North Side neighborhood. Come, I'll be there. And if you stay in with us, we might actually figure out a way to get some really meaningful work done on your house in a way that's affordable.
Mm.
Are you interested? That's the pitch.
Mm.
Okay. So yeah, it's member needs and interest driven. Climate and climate ready homes, that's the connection. This climate and climate ready homes is a massive, massive market. And it's going to get quite literally hotter and hotter over the years.
Mm.
It's going to become a crisis, and everybody's going to be running and trying to figure this out. We've got a few years here to put together a strategy that will address this in a meaningful way. Let's have an energy audit, a DIY and professional. This is an educational program, but we start by recruiting the homeowner, and then we do an energy audit. But a good part of that energy audit can be done as a DIY collaborative with Juanita, the energy auditor. I'm going to close my window here, my door. Now, so if you can visualize this discussion now in the workshop made up of all the stakeholders that are necessary and sufficient to get some good quality work done that will last and actually contribute to the longevity of not only that house, but the health and well-being of the people in it. With the audit, the energy ready action plan, that's just part of what it is. You just don't go in there and make one or two things. The little bit different here is, no, let's look at the whole house and see if we can identify, you can't afford all of it, but what can you afford now? Can we put together a plan over a period of time that makes it all affordable to you? It's your budget. It's your level of what can you afford. Now the stakeholders, the DIYs, the contractors, they're part of the collaborative. They're listening to the homeowner lived experience. They're in that workshop. They submit bids to do the work identified in the action plan. And they already know the resources available to that household to get anything done. All right. So they submit bids. The bids is based on scope of work, on specific tasks. This is straight common sense. They bid based on scope of work. And this is all open and transparent. So everybody gets to see what the problems are they've seen the DIY energy audit. They might have even visited the house or even helped with doing the DIY audit. So they bid it to get the scope of work, and this work is done in a collaborative process among the stakeholders from start to finish. This is building a different community-based business model that resonates with the way in which business is done in the neighborhood that has very little resources beyond time and material. And it's done with stakeholders who are making a living in this time and material business environment. Let's go further here. I said, oh, okay. Agile, stand up on the job, and frequent. Now I put on my adult education hat, my career at the university and research mode. And I began to say, well, all right. Back in the day when I was doing it with Pat Small and the other community organizations, I called it action research. Now, as I see it, and I was really blown away, the business model component of a lot of business management systems of high-performing organizations, agile stand-ups are central to a lot of the most cutting-edge activity in these businesses. What is it? Chuck, remember action research, plan, act, implement,
Evaluate.
Evaluate or reflect.
Mm-hmm.
Plan, act, implement, reflect. That's exactly what the Agile is doing, but it's doing it in the context of work tasks that a collective of stakeholders have decided this is worth doing, and we got to figure out how to do it in a way in which the homeowner can afford it, and I can make enough money to be able to get by myself with my little business. And that doesn't mean much more, or could be as much as I'm able to get anyway, but I'm going to do it in a different context. Collaboration using agile stand-ups from start to finish. This is a crucial piece of the thing. You can visualize the idea of a crew in the attic of a house. They've opened up a cavity in the wall in the floor area, and boom, they find not only rot, but termites. Typical thing. The agile stand-up is, well, wait a minute, let's figure out, before we get into this, let's figure out what can we do, what do we need, we got to get this solved real quickly. And that's the stand-up is pause, decide, get going, over and over again. And that's done multiple times through tasks. But this is being proved time and time again to be a really important part of the business implementation side of the equation. Now, the agile stand-up, not only looking at let's get this task done, but it's also saying, wait a minute, guys and gals, we got to do it according to building science principles. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it in our workshop. But you don't throw something together haphazardly. Building science will tell you what you need to do quickly. And if you know what to do and you have the materials available, you can do it quickly. And you have the skill set, you just don't know what the principles are and the associated materials. The workshop can work on that. Integrate passive house performance. This is all about making these homes not only climate ready and able to withstand the horrors of weather, but they're healthy. They're they're comfortable, sustainable. You're dropping your talk about energy burden. If a house is brought up to passive house standards, you're looking at 40 to 60%, if not more, drop in your energy usage. Nothing like that is happening short of using good old science, building science principles. Know what you're doing, use the right materials, work with the homeowner and others to make sure the task is completed in a timely and affordable way. And make that all discussable in the context of the workshop. So now with all of this, we're integrating passive house performance. Now here comes the thing, and this is what I was saying earlier. We're not just turning this over to the bunch of contractors to do some quick home repair and using off-the-shelf equipment that may or may not meet anything close to what building science is saying needs to be done. No, we're going to post-test every task or set of tasks so that we are actually literally documenting that what we've done was done by principle, done according to performance, and we can document the results. This is drop dead serious, but damn it, it's a community. This is a community of people who, over time, really buy into the human values, the principles, and the urgency that we've got to do this for our community, for our neighbors, for the well-being of our planet. This is what this is. And down here, assess what we've done and apply what we've learned to the next task. It's as simple as that. And I facilitated, back in the day, these were called action learning communities. Today, the top people are kind of, oh, that's agile stand-ups. Boils down to the same thing that I was doing, had been doing for 39 years in this community, right? Without a word of ROI, so much as time and material. We can make this. I got my time, which I need to be paid for my time. But let's put this all together in the context of the workshop so everybody sees the bill of materials and the time invested. It's a discussable item. And essentially, that's what my dissertation was about, making the undiscussable discussable. You pull out the private negotiation between the contractor and homeowner, and he's, I got just a thing for you. So what this is saying is the workshop is a small island of coherence in a sea of chaos. We know the chaos. We need the collaboration that is done in such a way that it actually builds coherence among the stakeholders. And if we're able to do this, this has the capacity to shift an entire system to a higher order of coherence. To get 60,000 homes climate ready is going to require a supply chain network throughout the city. The supply chain network represents more business startups, more cooperatives, more people needed to help make this project a way of life that is all focused on the human values of honesty, integrity, taking care of thy neighbor, the planet, and preparing ourselves for what is now coming, not only climate, but all this other technology, some of which is terrifying. So that's the workshop. How am I doing on time? Oh, shit.
Dan, we got less than 10 minutes. So could I,
No, I want to say a few more things.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Juanita and I said, "What a workshop needs something else. And what it needs is a pathway in which this work can be fed a supply of materials." And so this is our factory. We signed a lease for this factory on September 1. And this is what it looked like. That's Juanita back there. This is a big ass place. What we're going to be doing is assembling SIPs, structural insulated panels. We've partnered with a business that's housed in Lawrence, Kansas, that's already doing this. We're going to bring that capacity into Milwaukee. And the factory in Lawrence, now just sort of imagine this factory having the equipment that is a sister with the Lawrence, Kansas factory, doing what they're doing, whatever. But over here is the Barnett is a passive house that Juanita is working with. Guess who? Running Rebels. The small world. All right.
It's
This
awesome.
house, 1,000 square foot, going to be is about to break ground within the next week or two. She's also working, Juanita, with this Lawrence, Kansas factory on a house up in Lac de Flambeau. Thursday, we're driving up to Lac de Flambeau. It takes like 6 hours to get there to do the energy audit on the house that assembled the panels in Lawrence, Kansas, which we'll be able to be assembling here in Milwaukee on Holton and Capitol. And the target price for this house, 1,000 square feet, for her parents to come back to Milwaukee, is somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000. This is passive house. This is working with contractors and bidders on negotiating with them how to get their bids down to a level in which the sum total is between $250,000 and $200,000. That's Dawn and Victor's budget. All right, this is being done. This is happening. So the little narrative here is together the workshop and the SIP factory represents convergence of a new and sustainable technology. This is new sustainable technology. It's disruptive technology. It's disrupting the building industry. Globally, we're bringing it home. With stakeholder transparent collaboration, coupled with a mission to make every home climate ready by 2050, this strategy will scale. This isn't one house at a time. This is about scaling exponentially across all Milwaukee neighborhoods. What will it take? It will take 15 small factories serving multiple community-based organizations, local DIY enthusiasts, local contractors in those neighborhoods, and other businesses to collectively, over time, the coherence is the pathway to every home climate ready by 2050. This is Juanita and I working with Kiva and Valerie. We put together with a great deal of thought and work. And Juanita and I said, okay, this has to be done. Failure is not an option, but we have to carve the way forward. And that is, when you're at the fork in the road, there has to be a path. All right. So at this very beginning, Juanita, this collaborative here, and it's just a small group of people. This is not big, but if we're able to perform and deliver new homes, and these panels here could be used in retrofit. So every house, not just new homes. The test is, can we pull it off? Somebody had to say, all right, let's get a factory. So Juanita and I, our net worth, our value is at stake. We signed a lease.
Dan,
That's it. So I'm
Dan,
done. Yeah.
in phase one, how many jobs will you be creating?
If you're looking phase one, the factory will involve maybe 6 people, but we're building the pathway, right? We're building. This isn't just about building these houses, because we know that there's nothing new in it. This is cutting edge technology, but it's well proven. All right. What we're doing is finding the cohesion among the stakeholders that say we're committed to this, because what this means is, if we're doing this, we're creating a new reality, a new business model. Pat, you asked me some time ago, if all the jobs are taken by robots, what will be left for people to do? This is what will be left. A whole world of hurt is going to have to be addressed, and it's going to have to be addressed with the new technology, which is just phenomenal, scary, and threatening. But we've got to take that, and a horse that we rode for for eons. It's a big, scary ass horse animal. We can do
I'm
this.
sorry. I'm sorry. I have to go. I have a session at 10. But thank you so much, Dan. It's pretty inspiring. So thanks again.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Dan, would it be possible for us to write questions and submit them to you? Because I think that what you're starting here in this presentation has to continue. I mean, this one presentation is not sufficient. I mean, I think we all have questions that we would like to ask you. I had come up with a number of them while you were talking. We're out of time, but I really would like for all of us to be able to submit questions to you, because what you're doing is phenomenally innovative. It is thinking globally and acting locally in a way that I would never have dreamed of. I mean, I think it's fantastic. It's highly complex. You've been working at it night and day for quite some time. Would you be willing to have us write questions and then come back to this in our next Zoom meeting, which will be probably in January? I'm not sure if do we have a meeting set up for December, Pat?
No.
Okay, I know we're gonna have our in-person get together, but Dan, would you be willing to address this stuff again in January if we all would write questions to you, where we can have a discussion about this and have you address what our individual concerns might be?
Definitely, yes. And I think I would be honored if a portion of future Huddle sessions had a little sliver of the latest from the factory. What I've done in the past with other kind of groups, and what I asked earlier, send me, before you have the questions, or along with your questions, a handful of takeaways. What are your takeaways based on what you've heard? The good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is.
Good.
And I've recorded this whole thing, but if you send me your takeaways, that would be really helpful to me. Answering your questions. This project answers questions. If I'm going to take this path, what lies ahead? So yes, the answer is, and then make what you send to me, copy to all. Pat, if they copied to you, you could be the funnel.
Sure.
That would be very helpful. But yeah, a month or two from now, we'd take back, and I'll tell you how many we might actually have one or two houses in the reservation window. There's already people talking about it. So I think this is going to happen, but I need to have your feedback, and I really mean it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is a 90% chance that this won't work.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, this isn't magic. This is hard work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, we're not working hard enough, or we're not working collaboratively enough, or we haven't reached and achieved what I'm calling here coherence. That coherence, everything resonates. And this thing, we achieve that or approach that, this is going to scale across all the neighborhoods at the pace at which it needs to be. This can be done, but we're done now. But thanks for listening.
Yeah, I have one request. Your slide that you were referring to all the time, when Pat sent it out, I couldn't read it because it was too tiny. Could you possibly send your Northside Rising Climate Ready Homes workshop slide to everyone so we can refer to it?
Yeah, well, Chuck,
Yeah,
I have this in written format, and that can be sent out definitely. And we're working on a white paper, really going into depth with this stuff. Chuck, let me get back to us. Chuck saw that draft, which I shared with Belden Paulson from back in the day. He's 97, 96, and his wife Lisa is 97 years old. They heard about this. They want me to build them a house.
Wow.
Whether they're there, and they're talking about their network. If we start the path, people will take it. And we don't need at the very beginning only a small number of people taking the path, because we'll start the rumor mill. This damn thing works. It's affordable. Quick, do it. And one more thing. I'm resisting looking for government subsidies, because there are none, and there won't be government subsidies. There's never been enough government subsidies to address the problem at the scale in which it exists, and at the scale and speed at which is what is coming. What will scale exponentially is good work being done, tangible, and word of mouth spreads like wildfire.
Dan, you did a white paper that Chuck is editing.
No, it's
And I think
parts of a white paper, but it's
part of a white paper, but he's editing whatever it is you gave him. And we thought maybe once he'd done that, that would be something you could share with everybody.
absolutely.
Well, it's fantastic. I think what you're doing is incredibly innovative. It's daring, it's scary, it's wonderful. It's a lot of things, Dan. And I think a lot of us have questions about what you've addressed so far today, which is just the beginning of your incredible project. I really would encourage everybody in the group to do what Dan suggested. Send him your takeaways. Whatever they are, good, bad, and ugly, as he said, and also ask him questions based on what you've heard so far. And the slide that Pat will send out, that is all readable for all of us, the one that he was talking about today. And then there's more, Dan, that I will help you edit, and perhaps if you want to send the whole packet that you sent to me. It's about 6 pages. It's a beginning. If you send that out to everybody as well, then we're going to have a lot of questions for you. And in January, if we can address that and spend some time, like you suggest, maybe in every meeting, finding out where you're at, what you're doing, a little bit about it, as well as hearing from other people, I think it'd be really a wonderful project for us to be in touch with on a regular basis, month to month.
Let me add to that, Pat. Send us your takeaways and questions and rebuttals to Pat.
Okay.
So that we really capture all of this, because it can get distributed and overwhelming. Pat will work with me and Chuck and I will take on the responsibility. I mean, that's my obsession right now, to get this
Great.
thing going.
Mhm.
Thank you very
Good.
much. Send it to
Fantastic.
Pat. Pat will let me have it, and Chuck always.
All right. Sounds good.
He's got a bucket of red ink.
Just a quick reminder that we don't meet in December, but everybody has RSVP'd to getting together at the Ann Ox Cafe, which Matt had recommended.
Yep.
7411 West Hampton, and 4 o'clock,
What day?
Wednesday, December 10th. Wednesday, December 10th. You were right, Chuck. I was wrong the other day. I flip-flopped the days, but
Yeah.
the 10th is the day everybody agreed to.
Good.
Okay, everybody.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
So we'll
Thank
see
you.
you
It's been
then.
great.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
I'm-
Bye-bye.
yeah.